With the group stages now complete, it definitely feels like the legacy of Germany Euro 2024 is going to be one where the fans came back to international football. After the last few international tournaments we've had, and we don't need to go into all of that, it definitely feels like international football did lose a bit of its colour, lose a bit of its zest. But already in Germany so far throughout these group stages, the fans have been back in a massive, massive way. And there's been some great memories and some great moments from the group stages already. But as we kind of, have a look at how the last 16 is shaping up and have a wee glance at how the groups actually finished, there's a lot of teams qualifying, so it's the biggest Euros ever, but a lot of teams are qualifying with not that many points, and there's not really that many clear favourites or really dominant performances so far in the group stages, which means this last 16, there might be a strong side of the draw and a weak side of the draw, whatever, but nothing is went to script, nothing is went to plan so far in this tournament, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. In the video today, we're going to be predicting the round of 16 fixtures and results using UEFA.com and SofaScore with their kind of prediction giveaways that they're doing on their websites. You guys can play along as well by jumping onto those websites and hitting on the match predictor tab at any point in this video. But if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we run through the summer, covering all the summer transfers as well as international football that we've got on the go as we get set for what is going to be a massive 24-25 season here on the channel. And get into the comment section on this one and let me know, what is your outside shout for the round of 16? What's the, what do you think the upset is going to be, the unexpected result? I'll be looking forward to catching on those ones, and we'll feature the best ones when we come back to do this video again, but for the quarterfinals. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. And the first game we've got kicking off the round of 16 is a fixture that I don't think is going to be a big surprise to many people, that both Switzerland and Italy have qualified for the round of 16. The way the groups were drawn, and both these teams' historic kind of pedigree and history would suggest that they're very capable at this level, and qualifying out of the groups was going to be no problem whatsoever. But for both teams, it wasn't quite like that. Switzerland actually performed probably a little bit better than some people might have gave them credit for, especially in match day 3 against Germany, whereas Italy, just about creeped their way over the line into second place to qualify, scoring less goals than Switzerland. Italy scored 3, conceded 3 in the group stages, whereas Switzerland went on to score 5, conceding 3 in the group stages. So the form is maybe a little bit more with Switzerland, but neither one of these teams are big attacking, powerhouse nations, have not got a big arsenal, a big array of attacking talent to call upon for this fixture to even, make me think that this game is going to be a high scoring game. I definitely think this has got the potential to be one of the low scoring games of the round. And really straight off the bat, if you were to tell me that one game was going to be 0-0 extra time penalties, this might be the game that I would pick for it. But for how well Switzerland did against Germany, they're definitely going to be coming into this game full of confidence and on the front foot, ready to give a subpar Italian team a bit of a scare. And this is one that's really hard to call. I do think a draw in 90 minutes is a really good shout, but I don't know if I can quite see it being 0-0. So I'm going to go for this one to be at full time. Switzerland 1, Italy 1. And the thing with this one getting predicted to be a draw, which makes it a bit difficult, is it will go to extra time and penalties. And I do think that then just makes it an absolute dice roll, because if it does end up being penalties in a battle of the goalkeepers, Jan Sommer and Donnarumma in a penalty shootout will be probably the most elite world-class penalty shootout we could probably hope to see from a goalkeeper perspective. Both these guys are fantastic shot stoppers, which is a big part of the reason I don't think there's much to separate these teams, because although both their attacks are definitely not the best in the competition, they both have probably candidates for best goalkeeper in the tournament. So I do think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I think it's going to go the distance, and I think, yeah, maybe even penalties. I think Italy's bench might be the thing that separates it, so I'm going to go for Italy to qualify into the next round. Maybe it'd be Donnarumma as the penalty hero on the day, or maybe it's just one of those ones where as the game wears on, Italy have got a bit more in extra time to call upon to get them over the line. And then we have what should be a classic international European, do or die knockout fixture, blood snorters and everything in between in the footballing sense, of course, as we see the host Germany playing, one of the more formidable kind of second-rank European nations in Denmark. And the reason I kind of preface it by saying that is Denmark didn't really have that great of a group stage. They didn't really get into any sort of attacking gear. Normally, we've seen Denmark on the international stage be one of those teams that can be the banana skin to the bigger nations and give them a bloody nose. But really, really, for the kind of group that Denmark had, I think they will feel disappointed in how many points, qualifying with 3. In second position is definitely not the position of strength I think Denmark want to be coming into this against their neighbours Germany. And I think Nagelsmann's got a real good rhythm with Germany. Germany are probably one of the only squads really coming into the L16 that you could say everything's really went to plan for. Drawing match day 3 when they're already qualified and they've tried to do a bit more, resting in terms of substitutions and stuff like that, then it's not exactly a bad result, is it? Especially against Switzerland. So again, I think Germany will come into this one feeling really good. But the thing with Germany is they've had Havertz, they've had Füllkrug, but the striker, the forward kind of arrowhead position of the team has been maybe the questionable part of the team. And Denmark, for the back 3 and the midfield engine room that they've got, this will be a very even contest, I do think. But like we've seen with Germany already, if they do get the first goal goes, certainly, well, if it goes for Germany, it goes against Denmark, doesn't it? But the balance of the first goal, I think, is going to really control this game, particularly for the 90 minutes. And I do think that Germany are more likely to get the opener here. I think Germany are more likely to score more than one goal, especially compared to Denmark, who, with Jonas Wind, Rasmus Højlund, they've just not really got into any sort of real rhythm. They were using, Denmark used their bench very well, very often throughout the group stage. So I don't think that really Denmark show coming into this that they've got the ability to turn over the Germans. So I'm going to go for Germany to win this by 3-1. Because I do think once the wall gets broken, I think Germany are, very capable of hitting a quick 1-2 punch on a team. And Denmark might get a fight back goal. They might bring it back to 2-1 or something, but it might just leave them open to Germany just pushing the game out of their hands and beyond doubt. Now, England versus Slovakia is one of those games where England really should be wiping the floor with them. But we've not really seen a very convincing England thus far, hence all the kind of, dividing opinions that we see from all the England kind of, media, commentary people, pundits, whatever you want to think of them as. But against Slovakia in the knockout rounds, this is a game where England really do just get the business done, get the job done on the day, and cruise themselves into the quarterfinal itself. So I think England, especially with them being on the favourable side of the group or whatever, I think it does fall into their hands. Slovakia have done very, very well to qualify in a group which did include Ukraine and Belgium in it, and Romania obviously winning the group, all 4 teams finishing on 4 points respectively. But I do feel that they've maybe, that's their race ran in a sense, and I'm not too sure that they've got the X factor, the difference maker to come up against England in a game like this. And this is a game that England, in qualifying for the World Cups and for the Euros and whatever, can normally get a pretty decent result. So I think England are going to win this one 3-0. Not saying it's going to be overly convincing. Maybe the opinions will still be divided after it, but I don't see Slovakia scoring in this game. And I think England, once they go 2-0 up, a third is going to be very possible. And I think they can get 2 goals in this game, maybe even in the first half with relative ease. So I think England could be one of the easiest, qualifiers out of the round of 16 into the quarterfinals. So joining Germany and Italy, I make on this one. And then Sunday night, this is going to be a really interesting one because Spain, for me, are probably, if you actually, in terms of actual football, harmony, synergy, chemistry, however you want to think of it or talk about it as, Spain are just Spain. That group, that squad, the whole kind of international footballing scene with Spain has been so coherent and so uniform that it really doesn't matter what iteration or what generation of their squad that we've really got coming around. As long as they've still got players that can operate at kind of Champions League level, they can just style of play, coach, and, actually football their way past most opposition here. But Georgia are giving me really big Greece vibes, seeing them qualify out of their group, because Greece, when they won Euro 2004, beg your pardon, their squad had some players in it that were playing at a pretty good level. And Georgia maybe don't quite have the spread in that sense the way Greece did. It's maybe more a bit concentrated in a superstar goalkeeper and a superstar winger with a bunch of other guys that can, knit together a good squad. And they've got that real, the terraces are backing them. And it does seem as a national team that they've got their identity and they know their style of play, their route to go. I don't think they've got enough to upset the Spanish in a game like this. But Georgia will give Spain the possession they need to tiki-taka their way, death by 1,000 paper cuts in this game. And it will just be a case of, how many goals Spain score. Because if they don't score that many, Georgia are in the game. Because Mamardashvili, Valencia goalkeeper, he's not going to be too scared or worried about facing shots from these guys. He's been doing it for the last 2 seasons in a row. But it's going to be if Georgia can outscore Spain, essentially. And I'm not too sure that they've really got the firepower to pull that off. But Kvaratskhelia, Kravadona, and Mikitouadze have been taking chances when they've been coming their way. Mikitouadze especially, of course. And, Spain, The thing that stops me from thinking that Georgia can full on grease their way past this game is that Spain have been one of the best defensive teams so far in the competition, and this is going to be a game of few chances for Georgia and many chances for Spain. I just don't think it's actually going to come out in the wash for them. I don't know if Spain will actually score that many goals, and that's when I do worry that if this game does have the potential to be a banana skin, it's because Spain don't put enough chances away over the course of the 90 minutes, and Georgia just make the best of their chances. I think if an upset was to happen, we're looking at a 2 each or something like that. But I think Spain, I'm going to stick with Spain to score by the 2 goals. And I'm going to go with Georgia to get 1 as well. I think it'll be quite tight, and Spain maybe rue a couple of missed chances. They don't quite get enough kind of tap-in opportunities that they love, because Georgia do kill a lot of the space and hold in deep with them. But hey, if Georgia did manage to pull off a bit of an upset and get a win over Spain, then I wouldn't be too upset. I'd be quite happy to cheer them on all the way through the rest of the tournament, because I loved seeing Greece winning it when they did, and I'm not saying Georgia could win it, but hey, when Scotland's not in it, it's anyone but England. And then we've got a proper heavyweight clash. France versus Belgium, both teams being somewhat in different ways unconvincing in the way they've qualified through to the groups. But France, I think it can be somewhat forgiven, given the fact that we've seen an injured Mbappe kind of miss big periods of the group stage. Griezmann hasn't really been on form, and Deschamps has been uncharacteristically still kind of tinkering with 1 or 2 spots in the team. So I don't think the French are particularly worried. I think they realise that, hey, once one little thing falls into place in this tournament for them, they're probably going to be A-OK and do pretty well. But when it comes to Belgium, it's quite the opposite. Domenico Tedesco's side have not been quite as free scoring as I thought they would be coming into this tournament, scoring 2 goals across 3 games with a win, a loss and a draw, finishing on 4 points, getting them into second. But I do think this is going to be a kind of tighter game than maybe the French will be comfortable with. But I do think ultimately the French midfield and defence is going to be so strong that De Bruyne, Doku, Lukaku, all the big players would really have to have the best game they've had for Belgium, I think, to make this work for them. And we've not really seen any real signs that that's going to be happening, sadly. So I do think that, scoreline-wise, I don't think the French will blow them away by any means, but I think on the pitch, it will probably be quite comfortable for France, if that makes sense. I'm going to go for France to win this 2-0. So I do think defensively, Belgium could be one of the weaker sides that France could have came across at this stage of the tournament. Casteels has been fine, and I say the likes of Vertonghen, Tiate, Castagna, Fais have all been kind of okay enough, 1v1 situations, whatever, and some of them have had some less memorable moments, let's say. And I think that ultimately, France's defence is so good, the midfield is so strong, and then, and in the whole attacking department they've got, I just don't think Belgium have got much of a hope in this one. Portugal, and especially Ronaldo, visibly disappointed to lose the last game of the group against Georgia. But what a perfect opportunity for them to bounce back against a team that I think, again, if this was in qualifying, that all the international kind of heavyweights would love to stat pad against, play against Slovenia, try and get a goal or 2 in a game that really, when it comes to on the pitch, I know Slovenia have really punched above their weight and done great to get this far in the tournament, but it does feel, again, similar to Slovakia, that their tournament is done. Their biggest achievement will be getting out the group and facing this kind of side and giving as good as they can get, with decent goalkeepers and striking options. Slovenia have definitely got a little bit more elite potential in some of the key areas of the pitch, maybe on a lesser extent of what Georgia have got in a roundabout way. But Portugal are just like Spain in a very similar way of the identity, the ethos, the style of play, etc. But they're still in a real fantastic kind of generation period here where, again, picking their best 11, picking their squad, it is covered in elite top-end European heavyweights, as it were. And I think really when this game gets played, it is going to be all Portugal. And this maybe has the opportunity to be one of the highest scoring games of the round, potentially. But with this Euros not being too particularly high scoring, I don't think Portugal are going to score more than 3, but I do think they've got 3, maybe even 4 in their locker. And I think just the way that the game is going to go, I'm not even sure Slovenia are going to get one in this. I'm going to go for Portugal to win 3-0. Because this, although Portugal could win 3-0, and I'm sticking with that, Portugal could score all 3 of those goals in the second half. Slovenia might hold it in tight, make it really difficult, and make it really uncomfortable for Portugal, and then it will be a case of the bench and legs and everything else pushing them over the line for that one. So, yeah, Portugal 3, Slovenia 0. Now, Romania versus the Netherlands is definitely a game I'm looking at thinking that this could be an upset. This could be a game that sends one of the big boys home in a match that, on paper, Romania, I don't think anyone had them qualifying for this, never mind topping the group as they have. And, Holland have been pretty solid and stable in this tournament so far without being overly convincing or being totally, their best selves so far. So this is a game that will make or break the Dutch, certainly, but for Romania is like a bit of a final. But unlike some of the other teams, I think, coming into this, Romania have maybe got a bit more of a chance here, with Holland definitely having like top class football. And again, like the top class footballers they've got are in the typically Dutch areas. They've got a great 4-3-3 system on the go with fantastic players in the right positions to make that functional. And against Romania, it's definitely a game that they should be confident coming into, but Romania are definitely not writing themselves off coming into this one. And I do feel if this game does go punch for punch, end to end up the game, that in terms of high scoring game for both teams involved, this could be the one that takes it. So far, I think I've really got a lot of one-way traffic in terms of goals and such. So I do think that this is a game that, I'm going to go for actually 2 each on this one. Desmond 2-2. This goes to extra time, maybe even penalties. But I do think that this is probably going to be a draw as it's kind of fought out. I think Romania will just have that counter-attack element, that kind of underdog, dark horse element in their team that might just keep them a little bit too much in the Dutch, in their faces, and stopping them really kicking on in this one. And again, Holland, if they start to use their bench, it maybe weakens their best 11 to some extent, depending on the best 11 that they shape up with in this one. So I do think Romania have got a great chance of giving as good as they get in this one. And I think this will be like a score draw. So I'm going to go for 2-2. I think the easy thing to say here is that Holland are going to win. They're definitely the favourites. They've definitely got more, they've definitely got more actual proper elite footballers, especially compared to Romania, who've maybe got one of the weaker squads in the last 16. But I think just from what I've seen in Romania so far in the group stages and what they've managed to achieve, that it's just they're maybe not done yet, And then we come to Austria versus Turkey, which is probably the most evenly matched last 16 game. Both these teams qualified with 2 wins and a draw, and have got their own plaudits at their own periods already in the group stages for a couple of wonder goals, some good team play, as well as they won 2 games each. They've both had more good moments than bad so far, and both of them will be eyeing up each other, thinking, hey, like, you're not going to stop us getting to the quarterfinals. 2 very evenly matched squads across the piece, but what might be the difference in this one, if Austria are going to win it, is going to be the style of play, is going to be the coaching philosophy that we see, because the Austria midfield is very, very prominent at this stage. They've not been rotated much, and they've been getting results, as well as in qualifying, of course, but already at the tournament, and it does feel like they have quite firmly compounded on confidence as the games have went on. So if Austria are to do well, that's probably going to be the theme of the day. But with Turkey, if they are to do something, it's going to be the crowd, it's going to be the atmosphere, and like magic on the pitch. With Kalanoglu as well as Ardar Güler and 1 or 2 other players in the team, they have maybe a bit more spark, a bit more invention in their ranks. And this is a game that is probably the hardest one to call, along with maybe Romania, Holland. So I said that's going to be a draw. But both these teams are like, none of them are weak, none of them are great necessarily, and they've both got the exact same records from the group stage, essentially. So I do think this is going to be a really tough one. I'm going to lean with a bit of a personal bias, a bit of a personal preference. I think Ranjik and the Austrians are going to win it by 2-1. I think it's going to be tight. And the last game of the round, I think it will be a very good watch for everyone as well. But I don't think there's going to be that many goals in it. Both teams are pretty well drilled and pretty well built to that way that I don't think there's going to be like defensive catastrophes or one team has got the ability to really overpower the other. So I do think it's going to be a game of fine margins, and it's going to be a game of really who wants it more. That extra kind of that synergy, that unknown X factor that you get with international football that comes from the squads that have that, like I mentioned in the intro, that proper synergy of cohesion of a team to be able to initiate a tactic or be there for each other, read the situation, play the event. And I think all these games are going to be a really interesting watch. Very good round of 16. But if we have a quick recap just as we finish the video up here. So I've got Spain to get past Georgia to play Germany in the quarterfinals, and they will play the winner of the quarterfinal. I've got Portugal and France. So that is definitely going to be where I think we're all kind of watching, if that is the way the quarterfinals shape up for who might go on to win the tournament. So on the other side of the bracket, I'm going to say Holland qualify ultimately, so they're going to get past Romania, and they're going to play Austria, and they will play the winner of England, Italy. So not much easier necessarily, but Italy, if they are to qualify alongside England, that's probably the biggest team that they could get outside of the ones that are already on that side of the bracket. So it's definitely not going to be smooth sailing to the semi-finals, where they would then have to beat either Holland or Austria by my book. So it's going to be a really tough Euros, and this is the business end of it, where I do think the cream rises to a certain extent, and we will see some more memorable, some more magic moments. But maybe it's not Georgia, maybe it's somebody else, but I do feel that there is room for a Greece in this equation, a team that is really off the radar, really by no right has you know, the forecasters, the projections to be in the last 16 and go far in the tournament. But depending on how one or two results go, it is semi-final time, and once it's semi-final time, hey, everything can happen. Everything is out the window. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. On screen are now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this, and get into the comment section and tell me, what do you think is going to be the dark horse? What is going to be the upset of the round of 16? I look forward to getting the best ones of them and featuring them on the next video. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one.